Is it?
I swear to God.
Yeah.
Like, I've done all the hating I can do. And if there was one thing that I feel like, you watch these videos and you think it's got to be the cameras, right? You need a good camera. And if I could rate everything in order, I would literally go lighting number 1 for sure. And then audio number 2. And then from there, depending on what you're trying to do, it'd be a toss-up between video and soundproofing.
Okay.
Those would be the main things.
I would say the soundproofing is the hardest part for me right now. Without this, like in my office with a tile floor,
Yeah.
and no rug.
Well, look at these ugly rugs, dude. I got these things. You can't see them, audience, but they're hideous. But I got them. They are. I mean, they're like these 70s shag. They're the color of the curtains.
It's little at the Cookie Monster shit.
It does. It looks like it looks like we skinned the Cookie Monster, and just put them on the floor. But I mean, I did my research and it works, man. I mean, it really dampens everything. So, and then I did the moving blankets was like the hack. And one day I'm gonna do the real deal with the studio, but I don't even think it's gonna make that big of a difference.
No.
I don't. I feel like it'll look a little more aesthetically pleasing, but one of the things, like, we did this Market on the Rocks with Chase Kangalosi. Shout out, Chase.
I know.
Yeah, I still gotta wipe this shit down. But we did this Market on the Rocks. It was fun. It's like a little more of a wilder take on real estate, and he wants to do it once a month. And I hope he doesn't get mad at me. But spoiler alert: we're gonna do it next month. We're gonna change up our theme. In November, gonna be a little more fall-esque.
Okay.
So that should be fun. But yeah, we did that, and he brought in a lot of scenery, right, which was fun. But then I started recognizing, like, once we do the edits and everything, and the camera like zooms in and whatnot, you don't get to see all of the aesthetics. And that was one of the things. Like, I had James on; he was one of my first guests, and he's like, "Dude, I love your setup," but he's like, "I feel like you should get some stuff in here."
Like, what example? Like what?
Just like photos or like any kind of artwork or something like that. And again, like, this whole thing was a brainchild where I like went down the rabbit hole and like what to do and what not to do. And a lot of the like not to do stuff was there's no reason to like aesthetically,
Whose phone is that?
it's mine.
Oh, okay. Make sure I wasn't vibrating on
Leave
here.
that thing out. That's my bad.
You're
But
good.
aesthetically, like, to not bring in a bunch of stuff, because the only people that see it are your guests. And I kind of like look at it like in two different lights, because like on the video side of things, nobody really sees it.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. And even if they do, it's kind of distracting. But then you're trying to create an experience for your guests who are coming onto the show. And again, for those of you that can't like see everything, behind you is like all the recording stuff, and it's just kind of like it's not as cool as it looks right now, I guess, at least to me.
It's pretty fucking cool still.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely, it's legit. Let's say that. So, yeah, man, this is for those of you that are watching. I just started this because Matt and I were talking about it, and we just pressed record, but we've been working on putting together. We're going to do our own channel, Lone Wolf Realty, Gold Star Mortgage. We got Matt and Matt. We're working on a name for that. I think we've come up with a couple of good ideas. We'll have it done before we
we kind of
post.
established it.
Two Matts, one market.
Yep.
I love it. Two Matts, one market. Those of you, if you know, you know.
Exactly.
So, what's the topic of the day, my friend?
Let's kind of go on what market's doing a little bit first.
Yeah.
Then I'll let you go into asking questions you got.
Yeah.
And then we can go into the golf stuff you want to talk about.
Golf. I want to talk about golf.
And then kind of take it from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Give me the market update, man.
Austin average price per home right now for sold value is we're gonna go 435,750.
Okay.
So we're down a little bit compared to last year.
Mm-hmm.
We're back up a little bit from the past few months.
Yep.
Inventory wise, we are barely up from the last 2 months. We're down from 3 years ago, but we're up from 2021.
Gotcha.
2021, we had the craziness. We had less than a month of inventory. Right now, we're about 2.5 months of inventory.
It's interesting to hear you say that because I hate to admit, I saw a TikTok yesterday that voted Austin as one of the number one, like, worst markets, if you will, as far as like price drops. And it's so interesting how you can manipulate statistics to pretty much say anything you want.
Exactly.
Because they looked at Austin, and the statistic that he utilized was Austin is down almost 10% from the peak of the pandemic, was like the key word, right? But then what they failed to mention, because I did a presentation for a real estate group, and I had an agent raise her hand, and she's like, "Are you trying to tell me that real estate isn't down?" And I said, well, Kirschling, which is one of the major organizations that rates home prices, said that, yeah, we saw a reduction, late 2022, early 2023. But then February, March, April, May, because I believe their data is like 60 days behind or something, we showed appreciation after, those two downturns. And yeah, year over year from the peak of the pandemic, I mean, yeah, we can argue maybe we saw something like a 10% increase. But the point is the reason why people watch these things is because they're trying to time the market.
Yeah.
Right. And so the moral of the story is like the last kind of downturn we saw, according to this chart I was reading, was in 2012. And then once the market rebounded, it continued to show increase in value slightly, but increase all the way until last year.
So I was looking at one that was 2020 to now. We're down 1.5%.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was like 10% from the peak of the pandemic. It's like, what are we talking about here?
You're talking about you're going to 10.5. We were up at one point like 26%, or it was like 46% year over year from like 2020 or 2020 to 2021. It was absurd. It was a straight, almost vertical line.
Right.
And then we get to what we call a normalizing market right now. Well, no, we're almost there. We're normalizing. We're not normal yet.
But I think the point I'm trying to make is like, what is the why behind those statistics, right? And the why is you're trying to watch the market because you're trying to time the market with the intention that you're going to get the deal. And if you really look at the data, we are seeing real estate in Austin and nationwide, but I'll just hit the Austin market because this TikTok kind of frustrated me because it's like what the dude was saying wasn't inaccurate. It's just like,
make me look like shittier than it needs to be.
Well, it's like that line, like the omission of facts isn't a lie.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, you're not telling the whole story. Like, okay, fine, we're, down from the peak of the pandemic, but like property values are rising as of January of this year, which we're already into mid-October, so 10 months now, and we're seeing nothing but an incline. So like if you're pitching the statistic with like what? Are you to convince people that like what they should wait? Or that like the market's going to continue to dip? Like what are you trying to do here? Cuz if you're convincing people that like the real estate market is continuing to go down, that's just total bullshit.
I'm going to go with he's not even trying to convince people. I think he's just trying to get additional views and subscribers because any negative comment you put onto social media, you're going to get more bigger audience.
Isn't that a shame?
It sucks. Like even when we're coached through our YouTube stuff for a different channel than this, it's okay. Your top 5 worst things, top 10 worst things, or top 10, okay, let's go top 5 worst things, top 5 best things. Well, I'll do the worst to make sure they watch the video all the way through, at least halfway, so our viewers are better. And you're just like, and then as soon as you get to like, let's say it's a 10-minute video, you're at 6 minutes, they stop at like 5:30. Like,
yeah, that's one thing that I'm finding out. All of this stuff. I was on social media, but I'm like on social media now way more. And a lot of the things that I do, I kind of just put it out there just to see what will happen.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'm like, ooh, I don't know how I feel about this. It's like, what, it doesn't matter. And I'll put it out, and I do track like my highest watched videos, and my number one video, shout out to Travis Brown.
Okay.
And it's negative. Like my number one video is having a conversation about getting reviews and the importance of getting reviews. And the clip that we posted was about there's always that one person that's going to post a negative review. And we told a story about
the Chick-fil-A cup was like right here, right?
Yeah. we told a story about like a male Karen.
Yeah.
Right. And that video is my number one video. It's got like 15,000 views.
So,
and it's like, why is it That is I mean, I know it resonates with business owners and real estate agents because we all remember our first male or female Karen. But it's like you're already having PTSD. This clip will do great, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of crazy though. Like, to your point, those negative clips do really well.
Like my last video I did was top 5 reasons Californians hate that they moved to Austin, Texas. In the first hour, like I've only it's a newer channel, so it's not getting a ton of views, and we only have like 30 subscribers so far. In the first hour, I had 140 views.
What's the number one reason?
So I didn't do them in order, but what I'd put as number 1 was decreased affordability.
Decreased affordability. Okay.
Number 2 was weather. 3 was politics. 4 and 5, you have to go watch the video.
I always hear about the complaining of the weather coming from California. I've been to California quite a few times, and the weather is amazing. And especially after this year, I've been down here for a little over 4 years, and this year's summer, like, it was kind of brutal, man. And
so I mentioned in the video, 78 days of that we were 100 degrees or over,
and like no rain,
straight.
Yeah, the one thing that I hadn't seen since I moved down here was when you go that many days without rain, there's like a haze in the sky because there's so much dust.
You just feel like shit.
It's hot, man. But, coming from Cleveland, like, we would stay inside, basically. You're just, like, running from your heated car to your whatever heated building you're going into, whether it's your house or your office or whatever. And you are not sitting outside, for example, from, like mid-November to, like, April. So, I mean, it's like all you're doing is staying inside. It's just hot out instead of, like deathly cold.
Yeah.
So, anyway, moving on to other topics. I did want to touch on the golf stuff, though. I thought about it the other day when I was interviewing you, to keep things lighthearted. So, those of you that don't know, Matt Kemps he's a pro golfer. He's played on pro golf tours. He's won a lot of tournaments. He's a real deal. In fact, Rob Evans, a mutual friend of ours who I know, is also a pretty good golfer. He's like more of a scratch golfer, I would say.
On a good day.
On a good day.
Sorry,
and Kemps is competitive, as you can see. I asked him straight up. I was like, yeah, I was hanging out with Kemps before I came here because I had a meeting with you before I had a meeting with him. And I said, I feel like I need to talk to him about golf or something. And he's like, you should. And I said, I know you're really good. Like, is Matt legit? He's like, he's legit. So, everybody always is going to say great things about themselves, but when another really good golfer is putting your name out.
Appreciate it, Rob. Thanks, man. Sorry for just shitting on you.
It's all good. It's all good. So tell us about it, man. Like, how did it start? Like, I want to hear about it.
Okay, so let's go back to, it's going to be 1st or 2nd grade.
Okay.
Living in Southern California. Next door neighbor, shout out Mark File, played on the senior tour at that time. He had a little putting green, I'm not kidding, probably the size of this table in his front yard, okay? It was like white bricks kind of surrounding it, and I would just go putt for like an hour or 2 hours, and he'd just say, come on over, putt whenever you want.
It's cool.
Yeah, so we just started that, and then that started like the golf like craving, but like I was so involved with baseball at that time, where I was playing travel baseball. We had all-stars as kids, and then we had all-star baseball from Little League, and then when I was playing club baseball. And then right around 7th, 8th grade, I broke my mom and dad's heart and said, hey, baseball no more. Get into golf. And that was, they love baseball.
What made you want to get out of baseball?
Well, first, it was coaches always ruined it for me.
Okay.
I hated that. I love baseball. I'll still like watch baseball, even though everyone's like baseball's the hardest thing to fucking watch.
I love baseball.
Okay, but
It's
like last
my
night,
number one favorite sport to watch.
I watched all 3 games, and then I watched the Dodger game and turned off in the 3rd inning. But besides that,
yeah, that's right. You're a Dodgers fan. I want to see the Battle of Texas in the playoffs.
How sick will that be?
Right? Anyway, go on. Golf.
Okay, so let's just fast forward to freshman year where I'm basically starting to take golf pretty serious. Got my 2nd swing coach at this point. Mom and Dad helped me get this random guy named Gary Bonnet at our public course. That was the first one. Second one was Zach Vinyl at a Virginia Country Club in Long Beach, California.
Okay.
He was when I really started getting serious with the game. Mom and Dad realized, oh, you don't suck at this. You're kind of good at it. And my junior year of high school, they actually gave me the opportunity to go to basically a golf school. So I moved to South Carolina. Lived in an apartment with 3 other dudes. We had like basically it was like early college, is what it felt like.
Yeah.
And I would wake up, I'd hop on the bus. The bus would take us to the golf course, work with our swing coach at Pinecrest Golf Club. Be there till about 1 o'clock, grab lunch there, get back on the bus, go to school over in Hilton Head, finish up school. Then from there, we would go have our clothes to go to the gym. We go with our trainers to the gym around 5:30, 6. And then you go do homework from basically 9 to 10. You repeat that all over unless you're on a travel day or you're on a tournament week. Tournament week, you'd be Thursday through Sunday, and you'd be out and you'd be going to since we were in South Carolina, we were basically going Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, North Carolina, basically that kind of like that southeast coast portion.
Mm-hmm.
Did that. And then that was basically to plan for college recruiting. Again, now we go back to coaches. I got screwed over again by coaches in college. Ended up playing D3. Won't go into that now. But I ended up playing D3 my first year at Cal Lutheran.
Okay.
Transferred to Texas State where I was going to be playing. Got screwed over again by a coach.
Okay.
And ended up not playing for Texas State because was promised an opportunity that was never given to me. And then I said, fuck this, I'm taking my own hands.
Yep.
Turned professional my sophomore year and been playing professional golf since then. Had jobs in between to make sure I was able to pay for my own shit because I don't know if anyone knows, you don't have anyone paying for your stuff for golf. It's all on you.
Right.
So like per week, if you're playing a tournament, it's about $2,100.
Wow.
So $1,300 for the entry, plus your travel, plus your hotel, plus whatever shit you have to buy if you're not fully sponsored yet. And then you go make your money by how you play. So been doing that since about 2016. Did Corn Ferry qualifying, which is basically AAA.
Okay.
That'd be like equivalent to what AAA baseball is.
Right.
And then this year I did a shot to go over to Europe and try to do DP World Tour qualifying.
Milan,
so
right?
I was in just outside Milan.
Nice.
Went out there, didn't have my best, missed, and kind of got baby in the way, got real estate rolling, had to make a big decision.
Right.
Apply to get my amateur status back. So no longer can claim income while playing golf. I can still play money games with friends, but I can't go play like professional golf tournament and claim money.
Right.
And we're going real estate full steam ahead.
There it is.
Yeah.
Well, I have so many golf questions because I play golf myself, but nothing like what you're doing.
You have more fun than I do.
Yes, it's fun for me. I enjoy it. And like anyone who doesn't really play much golf, my favorite part is the greens are just so beautiful, and you get out there and you watch the sun. I like to go early, watch right when the sun's rising, and I'm like the old man on the golf course, and I do enjoy it. But so here are my questions. Number one, let's talk about you and your career. What's like the biggest I don't know, tournament or I think like what's the biggest play type of deal that you had in your career that's like, I remember this one time I was playing for this, I won that. Give us a...
Okay, so we're U.S. Open qualifying, not this past year, the year before. Okay, so I'm just local qualifying. So how it works for U.S. Open is you have to do 18 holes. It depends on my spots. So it's usually 3 to 5.
Okay.
My spot, it was 5. It was coincidentally right here in Round Rock at Forest Creek.
Okay.
So I'm 3 under through 17. I knew that would get me into a playoff if I don't birdie. 4 under, I've been out of a playoff. 3 under, I'm going to be going into a playoff. I'm like, all right, just go conservative mode. Don't need to fuck this up.
Right.
So fairway green, lay up off the tee, hit 5 iron. I have like wedge in. I have like 135, hit wedge. I hit to like probably, I don't know, like 18 feet. So anyways, I'm like, all right, let's try to make the birdie. Maybe we have a good chance, good look here. I ran out by about like 5 feet.
Oh.
Okay, so then my caddy looks at me. My wife looks at me. She goes, "What the fuck are you doing?" Thank God I made the 5-footer coming back.
Nice.
Get into a playoff. I actually get through so it's a 8 guys for 3 spot playoff.
Okay.
A part of the first hole. I'm not gonna get to that. It's gonna be way too long. Long story short, one guy gets through with the birdie. So that was 2 spots going to the second playoff hole. I make a par. A few of the guys get out. Get to 17, and we pick out a hat for who goes first. I, of course, got the fucking first pick. And I'm like, I hit first. Great. Okay. Thank God I stuffed it to a foot. I have a tap and birdie, I'm in. So then I move on to sectionals. Sectionals was in Florida, in Jupiter. And same caddy I had came with me, wife came with me. And this is in June in Florida. So just picture weather. And we're playing 36 holes in one day, walking. It was 110 degrees with 130% humidity.
Mm.
Okay, I won't even go.
Got to stay hydrated.
Yes, the amount of chafing
Oh, yeah.
was insane. So, and I was physically and mentally exhausted after probably 27 holes, and I just had to power through the last 9. I ended up missing it by 4. But long story short was I gave my best, tried my hardest. It is really fucking hard. Like that is they say it's the longest day of golf. It is by far the longest day of golf. And it was the really crazy part is you're going to have guys who aren't fully exempt that are on PGA Tour into the U.S. Open playing with you in that. So group ahead of me was Ricky Fowler. And the amount of like media.
Even I know that name.
Yeah, there you go. The amount of media that was just ahead of us and we were getting held up by that was absurd. Behind me, a group, few European guys. I'm not sure everyone would probably know, but basically I had media in front of me, media behind me. Obviously, they didn't know me.
Yeah.
No media here. So I'm just getting people on my ass, waiting for Ricky to kind of finish up, media there. And I can tell you there was about 2 or 3 different times where there was like click, 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 flash, flash, flash. And I was not used to that.
Yeah.
And it got me a few times. And it was just a big, giant learning curve. But that was probably one of the biggest moments where it's like, oh, I kind of feel pressure here.
Yeah.
But
No, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you may have noticed while Matt just told that story was I understood about 90% of it. There's a lot of jargon in there that I had no fucking idea what you were just talking about, but I know that you golf fans do.
Okay.
So,
like, give me an example. What didn't you understand?
Oh, you're talking about like hitting out. You're going to get a good look, and then you're going to hit about this many feet, and and I hit it with a pitching wedge, and I'm like, oh, I'm not following this, but but I think I got it. You know, like I got it. I got like every fourth word.
I'll make it harder. So when I was in Europe, it was in meters.
Oh yeah, forget it.
I had to do the conversion. So and there was no rangefinders. So we have meters on sprinkler.
You're not allowed to use rangefinders
in DP World qualifying. We were not allowed to.
Oh wow, that's weird.
So you have your sprinkler heads where it has a yardage on it. And then you're pacing it off.
How accurate are those though?
Accurate.
Okay.
It's usually to the front of the green.
Okay.
So you're gonna have front of the green number. Let's just call it. We'll do yards to start easy. Okay.
Yeah, that'll help me out.
150 yards front edge. And then you have your pin sheet, which is in your yardage book that you pull out, okay?
Tells you how many, yep, okay.
Okay, so now it's going to be, let's say, 18 off the front, 5 from the right.
Okay.
And I know that there's probably about 12 left of that hole. So I'm going to go 150 plus 18. So I'm at 168. And then I know I have 9 behind it. Add 9 to it. So what am I at? 150 plus 18, we're 68. Now we're at 9, and we're going to be at 77.
Yeah.
So 177 behind the flag, okay? So I know that I can't hit anything more than 175 because I can't go short side. I can't aim right at that hole, which is called crossing pins. And that's the short side of yourself. So I'm aiming basically 5 short of that flag to the front left. So I'm on the fat side of the green. So if I do miss the green, I'm not short-siding myself on the short side. I have the big side where I have some, if I want to chip, if I miss, I have
you got some wiggle room.
Yeah. That's the part where golf gets really hard.
Yeah.
And committing.
Yeah. That, you just basically explained how I definitely have more fun than you do.
Way more fun.
You know, I'm just looking at it and I'm like, oh, okay, I know how many yards it is. I kind of get an idea and I just go for it.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes it lands where I need it to and sometimes it doesn't.
We can get into grass too, how different types of grass affect it too.
Even I feel the effects of that, so I know how that is. The one thing I do want to ask, moving down to Austin for me is been interesting with the golf situation because obviously you can golf all year round. And we do have a lot of people who have moved here from California. And I know way more people who are super serious about golf than up in Cleveland, right? Like, don't get me wrong. There's a ton of golf up in the Cleveland area. The one thing I identified actually is the greens are just beautiful up there. They're actually way nicer.
Yeah, because you got bent grass up there.
Right. So those of you that play in Cleveland, like, understand that although you might not be able to play all year round, the freaking courses you're playing on, I mean, there's some of them, you know, in the metro parks will drop like $20 for 18 holes, and it's like it would be like $250 to golf on that golf course here. So anyway, I've actually done some deals for parents that, are working on kind of doing what your parents did for you, where they're trying, their son's going to go pro and everything. And I've never met more pre-pro golfers in my life than when I moved to Austin. So my question to you is, like, how much of that is just like parents hoping that their kids are going to be good at golf versus like the kid actually being good at golf?
So based off the kids who are at the school with me,
Not the school, but like if I go to any golf course right now, the
Yeah.
one thing that there's way more kids, and by kids I mean like
what,
people
a-
between
what
the
age? Yeah.
yeah, like people between the ages of say like 9 and 13,
They don't know yet.
right? But I mean, they got the gear,
Gear, yeah.
their parents are like,
They might be playing tournament golf, junior golf.
mm-hmm.
Junior golf 9 to 13 is competitive, but it's not as competitive once you hit high school. Once
Okay.
you hit high school, your freshman year through your senior year, it's when it really starts to get competitive, and that's when you start playing AJG events, and you're not just playing your local, what we call Southern Texas PGA Junior Tour events here. When you're playing AJ events, that's like you're on a travel schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So you might be playing, and you're trying to earn what they call stars, and stars get you exemptions into different events, even as a kid.
Okay.
So say, for example, you are, let's say we're living in Austin, Texas, and then we're trying to figure out a tournament calendar, but I'm still trying to earn my stars to be able to get into tournaments. I'm starting local first, and then I have to play well in those events to earn enough stars to be able to go travel to play other, they call them Rolex Cup events for kids. And those are like the elite ones. And then you get invitationals from there. And then that's what colleges are looking for. If the kids aren't playing in those, then the parents don't need to be investing a ton of money after that.
Okay. I guess what I'm driving at is like, as somebody who doesn't understand much of this, when I'm, out on the greens and all that kind of stuff, like how many of the people that are kind of out there that are either claiming or are fairly good at golf are actually like, let's just say at your level, right? Like
1% of 1%.
Okay. Because, like, when I'm out on the golf course, I feel like there are a lot of people that are definitely acting like they're a big deal.
So 99% of the world, of people who play golf.
But that's the statistic. How much bullshit do you see when you're out? I mean, you golf a lot.
Okay, I'm going to sound like a dick when I say this.
I mean, you're bona fide.
Yeah, I'm going to sound like a total dick when I say this.
Yeah.
I don't play golf with people who suck, normally.
Yeah.
Unless I'm going to play a work scramble.
You hear that, Rob?
Fucking suck, Rob. No, I love playing golf with Rob.
Okay.
Okay, so there's different shot shapes, okay? There's a draw, which is right to left for a righty, and a cut is left to right.
Are you right-handed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Rob hits the biggest draw I've ever seen in my life, and he's trying to, and like Alex, another buddy of mine, you've met Alex.
Yeah, yeah.
Rob does this pre-shot routine where he's like trying to swing left till the ball starts left and comes back right, and then gets over the ball, and it's just a massive right to left, and it's complete opposite of what he was kind of doing his rehearsal, but he's working on it. Rob, I
Okay.
love you. You have the sexiest draw in the world. Don't change it.
Okay.
Okay.
So, yeah, when you're out there, though, like, do you run into a lot of people who, they probably don't know who you are or anything along those lines that are, just kind of come with the chip on their shoulder that they're really, really good at golf, or like, hey, check out my kid. He's really, really good at golf. Because I see a lot of that. Like, how much of that is legitimate and how much of it is just like,
You'll know the first 30 seconds.
Yeah, but do you see a lot of it is what I'm saying. I mean, I know you'll know, but like, how many people out there are talking shit that aren't backing it up? This is
not as many as you think.
Okay. Good to know.
So if there is shit talking, it's the parent is so obsessed with getting them to where they want and the kid doesn't love it. It's typically when that happens.
Okay. And then my other question for all of the non-golf people out there. So for somebody who is not trying to go pro, who is playing, having fun, but definitely wants to be good, how important is gear?
More important than you expect.
Really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't think that.
Okay, let's talk about, do you know how the handicap system works?
Nope.
Okay, so let's just say, for example, I don't even know what you're hearing. Let's just say you shot 95.
Okay. Is that on 18?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, let's make sure that I'm doing that. Okay, So you would probably be a 25 to 27 handicap.
Okay.
Okay. So against me, I'm a +4 right now.
Okay.
Okay. You would basically getting 29 shots from me.
Okay.
Okay. So you would on there be multiple holes where you're getting more than 2 shots from me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only way to keep it fair.
Sure.
If you wanted to get that down, gear will help you probably 4 or 5 shots
I mean, that's significant.
because it's spin rate controlling. Let's just say you have a massive slice. Okay.
Mhm.
You would want to get something with a lower spin rate, and you'd want to have basically a fixed head that would force the ball left, so it couldn't cut.
Gotcha.
And if you had that, it would straighten out your big slice, and then from there you would take that to a swing coach who would then help you understand the golf swing a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
and what you're doing to cause what you're doing. And once you understand that, golf becomes a little easier, and then it's course management.
I mean, yeah, you picked out my clubs, and they definitely made it. It made a difference. I wouldn't say that like I was like, oh man, there's no difference. But I was always curious at how important it is because I do see some of these guys that I'll play with up in Cleveland, and they'll come with these really pretty clubs, and they suck.
Mm-hmm.
They suck. You know.
It's also
And-
about getting fit so when you buy new clubs,
Mm-hmm.
you want to make sure you're going onto a TrackMan or you're going onto a Foresight. These basically simulators
Mm-hmm.
that can see attack angle, which means what angle of attack is the club coming into the ball.
Gotcha.
That creates a different spin rate. And are you coming into out? Are you coming out to in? How many degrees is it? And I'll look at this stuff daily when I was playing legit, like actually playing golf. And I'll be on the range warming up before an event or the day before. And let's just say, for example, I was a +2 club path. That means I'm hitting a very tight right to left shot.
Right.
If I was -2, that'd be a very tight left to right shot. And
gotcha.
you start to learn these things, and you'll mess with shafts. You'll mess with loft and lie. You'll mess with a bunch of different things that based off of what your body is creating with that golf club and how your turf interaction.
Okay.
It's just a little bit further down.
Here's my next question.
Yeah.
Based on your experience with, playing with other golfers, pro golfers, scratch golfers, crappy golfers, is there how common and or important is actual talent in golf? Or
99%.
really?
Yeah.
Or is it, and I was going to say, or is it mainly just like, so are there people that you've golfed with that you can ultimately just say like, dude, this is never going to happen for you? No matter how much you
Okay, I get what you're saying.
practice, no matter how many coaches you go to,
It depends on how.
or are there people that like, you've played with, and I'm sure, they're not good, but you're like, hey, how long have you been playing? They're like, this is my first year. I've never golfed in my life. And they're actually like playing.
That doesn't really happen.
That doesn't happen. Okay.
Golf swing is so unnatural.
Right.
And so let's just say you play golf for a year. You've been taking lessons with swing coach. Your handicap's now to a 15.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's about course management. How are you gonna manage your golf ball to not be in spots where it shouldn't be, and sacrificing, hey, maybe this shot might be too hard at my skill level's not at this point. I'm gonna lay it from here because I know if I do that, I could be in a hazard. I'll lose 2 different shots there.
Mm-hmm.
It might be better for me to do this. Once you have course management down, and once have your wedge distance down, your handicap will start dropping. And
Those two things you just mentioned, I have no control. I have no management of.
Exactly.
I actually did this whole like I don't even know what you would call it, but I decided. So I'm a left-handed golfer,
Mhm.
and because of that, it was very difficult for me to like get inexpensive or even like free clubs.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't start golfing until I was like 22,
Mm-hmm.
and I was terrible. Not that like I'm good now, and I was like, okay, I really want to be able to at least play golf. Like not whiff the ball, not top the ball, like not crush it into the trees. And I was like, I need to get better at this. And so for 1 year, I golfed every Friday, rain or shine, for a season in Cleveland because you can't go all year.
Mm-hmm.
So it ended up being like 8 or 9 months. I golfed every single day, Friday morning, for a year. And it just like exponentially
Mm-hmm.
improved my game. And so to your point, like now I can hit the ball every time. And very rarely will I top it or get it into the trees or anything along those lines. But I definitely struggle with like distance control. Like
Mhm.
when you're like, oh, it's 165 yards, like what do I get hit with? Like I have a general idea, but like I might overshoot, I might undershoot, I don't know.
Yep.
And then what you just made mention of as far as like um, wedges, fuck that, man. Like I have no idea what I'm doing. But you were the one that got me that gap wedge, and I love that thing.
Good.
Never had a gap wedge, and
Good.
I definitely lean on that. I have like my clubs that I like,
Mhm.
and it might not even be the right club to
So
use, but
okay, you're in that stage right now. So
yeah.
once you get past that stage, golf
Uh-huh.
gets a lot more fun.
Okay, good to know.
Yep.
Good to know. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely keep up, and like I don't piss anybody off. Let's just say that.
Put it this way, I want you to work more and do what I'm doing now. So and keep the way it was. So stay where we are at golf.
Yeah, that's good to know. Good to know. So back to real estate because I've got to wrap it up here in about 15 minutes. What else do we want to cover? I forget what we were talking about. I mean,
Market trend stuff was what we were first talking about.
yeah. Oh, I know what I want to talk about. So, what are your thoughts? And I think this is just an opinion. I don't think there's any right or wrong answer, but I get this question a lot. What are your thoughts on, here we are mid-October, what are your thoughts on the concept of like maybe purchasing at the end of the year is better for me versus the beginning of the year? And
Way less competitive
Mhm.
in the holiday season. And you're going to have a seller with the mindset of, if I can sell this time, I'm a little more desperate to just liquidate.
Mhm.
And I'm not trying to get my big nut, basically.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be a spring or summer.
Mhm.
And if their property is on market during this time period, it's liquidate funds to then move to wherever they have to do because they're on a timeline.
So playing devil's advocate.
Yep.
Just for everybody out there. And this is why I said I don't think there is any right or wrong answer. But to your point, I think that is a good point. Playing devil's advocate, what about the fact that inventory in general typically tends to be reduced towards the end of the year, that people will take their house off of the market and wait and relist in the spring?
Mm-hmm.
So you've kind of touched on the topic of having more negotiating power towards the end of the year, potentially getting a better deal. But what if I were to argue as a buyer, well, I'm looking at everything. There's not a lot on the market. It's nothing I like. I think I'm going to wait until the spring when there's more options.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that?
What's more important? Do you find the exact house you want or getting the deal?
Right.
that
There's
you're
the
looking
answer.
for?
Well, I want it both, Matt.
Okay, then let's go. You're going to hate this answer. Then let's go new construction.
Right. Yeah. Hey, there it is. If you want the deal, but then that's a time issue also, right?
They got plenty of inventory
Yeah,
right
the
now.
spec stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's the answer. I mean, that is one thing because I get to ask that a lot, and that is my response. It's like, what's more important to you? Getting a deal? Like, are you willing to sacrifice maybe not getting everything that you want, but you're getting the price that you want, or do you want to wait until the spring market hits and then you might find that exact home that you want, but it's going to be way more competitive and you're probably going to pay more?
Typically, what I'll do in that scenario, let's just say we have, you guys can't see this, but we're going to go property A, property B. Okay, property A is going to cost, let's use round numbers, $500,000 right now. Okay, and that's if we're looking in this time period.
Mm-hmm.
Property B is going to be if we're looking in the spring. Okay, it's going to be a little bit more expensive.
Sure, I would
Okay.
think by at least 10%, probably like $550.
Yeah, let's do 560. We'll do 550 to be safe. Okay, 550, and 500,000 on A. What's the cost of ownership going to be different? We don't know what the rate's going to be in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
We do know what rates are now. We do know that sellers are willing to give seller concessions because it's a market trend that we're seeing right now.
Yep.
So we know that whatever, and this is why I'm going to tell you to refer back to Matt. Matt, I know you're not a rate predictor. You don't have a magic ball. But is it smarter for me to take 2% of the purchase price and get that seller concessions and do that on property B in the springtime? Or is it better, and is that even an option? Or do I take advantage of the 500,000 that I like 80% of the home,
Right.
get 2.2% off that, and I'm still not going to be way below my B scenario? Is it more important for me to do that, or is it more important for me to get the exact house I want?
Well, the
I'm gonna
deal
pay
is
more?
definitely A.
100%,
no doubt
right?
about it.
Deal. Okay. But is it possible to have the 2% on this one, and what does that put my pricing at? And is the few $100s per month on that scenario going to make the difference?
Right. I mean, yeah, even if possible, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, anything's possible.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, the additional 50,000, it's definitely going to end up costing more, and it's also possible that you may have the same or higher interest rate. So a lot of that unknown, because that's another thing that I always talk about in real estate that is frustrating for us, but I get it. Is the one thing across the board, whether they're buyers, sellers, everybody is always looking for a guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
And there just isn't.
Does it exist?
There's no such thing as a guarantee, right? Everybody wants a guarantee. Well, what are you going to
Yep.
sell for my price? I get
The
this
only
all
guarantee we can actually give a guarantee on when you have a fixed rate.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we can guarantee your principal and interest, but that's
Exactly.
another thing. We can't guarantee your taxes won't go up.
Bingo.
We can't guarantee that your insurance isn't going to go up. But one thing I do want to touch on before I forget, because I need this to be a clip. So editing team, remember this. So one of the things that I get all the time, people will get under contract, we'll put everything together, and we'll get like their initial loan estimate out to them, and they see their cash to closing. And like the number one thing that really seems to be very frustrating to buyers is I need to know exactly how much money I'm bringing to closing, and I need to know as soon as humanly possible.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is that it sounds crazy to me sometimes when I say it out loud, but it's just the reality of the situation. Like I can tell you exactly what our fees are going to be.
No idea what title is.
I have to find out what title fees are going to be, and not trying to throw title under the bus here, but it takes 7 to 10 days to get title, and like title typically, I don't know what this is, but they typically don't even want to mess around and balance with us until we're clear to close.
And I would say the best way for that to happen, to get the closest number possible, it's just not going to happen. You're not going to have a perfect number.
Right.
But the best way that could happen is if let's just use Capital Title, for example, my preferred title company.
Yep.
I can go to their
Shout
website.
out.
Yeah, big shout out. Thanks, Sarah McCauley team. I can go to their website, use their calculator, do a seller net sheet off of that, and then we can put in what basically what the net would be.
Mm-hmm.
On a buyer side, for if you have Matt involved, I could do a buyer, what it basically be through title with a buyer net sheet.
Yep.
And then we could take his fees plus that calculator, and that's probably the closest way we can get to
Yeah, and again, I mean, we can get within a couple $100,
Yeah.
but in my world, we do everything we can to obviously create relationships and build trust,
Mhm.
right? I mean, trust is a huge factor. But what's interesting about trust is the moment I say to a buyer, "Hey, listen, we're going to be able to get close. You have to trust me." It's almost like it does the opposite when I use that word. It's like, you got to trust me. People are like, "Oh, that terrifies me when someone says trust me."
Shit, he's in sales. He's just a trust.
Right, exactly. And so like it's interesting to see the frustration with buyers when I tell them, I just did a deal for like one of my best friends down here, and he was so easygoing and the process was so smooth, but the only time that I saw him get a little bit frustrated was when he's like, "I just need to know how much money I'm supposed to wire to the title company." And I'm like, "Well, go ahead and wire, I can't even remember how much it was, but it was like, go ahead and wire $25,000 to the title company and we'll be good to go." And he's like, "Is that how much it is? 25 grand?" And I'm like, "It's going to be a little less than that. You're going to leave with money at closing," which for the record is typically how I like to do things. It's like, guys, it is impossible for us to like screw you out of money. It really is. Like, this business is regulated. Title has regulated costs. Like, we can't change the number and be like, "Oh, we see that he wired more money. Like, let's figure out a way to like
Move that over here.
move it over here." We can't do that. So it is, in my opinion, always best practices that like I can give you a general roundabout number, which is going to be within, a couple $100, maybe even like $50, $75. Wire just like an extra $100 and give yourself the peace of mind, because I see people who are like, "What's the number going to be?" And when we explain to them that we do not have the exact figure, they like hold off. And then here we are, like the day of closing, they're trying to wire funds. Their bank's got a 24-hour hold on the amount because it's super large. And it's like, so when I told him like wire 25,000, he was like, "Well, is that how much it's going to be?" And I'm like, "Well, it's going to be less." And he's like, "How do you not know?" This is my buddy. Like, and again, I get it even worse from
Buddies, probably.
I get it
Think
even
so?
worse from like people who don't know me, because
Yeah.
this is my guy. Like, he trusts me. He knows
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to screw him over. So like when I'm talking to a client that, I've just met a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, "Hey, just wire like a couple extra $100. They're like, "Why? How do you not know exactly what I'm going to need to bring to closing?" Like, they're like looking at me like, "You stupid lender. Like, this isn't rocket science." Like, gosh, salespeople are so dumb. Because we got tech people and engineers out here out the wazoo, and they are smarter than everybody they built Austin, right? I mean,
Give them credit. They kind of did.
no, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, and individually. So anyway, so yeah, that's like my public service announcement is like, guys, we're going to do everything we can to get you that cash to close dollar figure. But like, if you really want peace of mind, like
I will say it also feels better when you're getting paid and you're basically signing your life over what it feels like for a second.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're like, oh, I got the check coming back.
Yeah,
Oh,
you get a
thank
check
God.
back. Go out and have a nice dinner.
Yeah.
Of your own money.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's my real estate take as far as the lending side is concerned. But we've got about 5 more minutes, man. You got anything else you want to do? One of our wacky questions that we wrote down or anything like that?
I'm going to cover this real quick. Let's backtrack for a second.
Yeah.
Go back to scenario A and B.
Oh yeah, the deal.
Okay. Is it better to go to scenario B and pay an appraisal waiver where I'm paying additional cash down? Or is it better to get money from the seller and not get everything I want, but I get 80% of it and I have less cash to close? Just think about that. Don't need an answer. Just consider your scenario.
Yeah. Well, I heard a real estate agent on my podcast say this, and I've been stealing it like crazy, is that right now there's only 2 types of buyers, and it's the buyer who's looking for the deal or the diamond.
I agree.
Right? They either want the deal or the diamond where it's like, that is exactly what I'm looking for. And typically that is something that's location based, whether it's on the lake or it's in like a really sought after part of town, Terrytown, whatever have you. If that house is completely done and it's just everything that anyone could ever imagine, that house is selling quickly and people are willing to pay whatever it takes to get that house. Or like situation A, yeah, maybe I'll make a couple concessions in regards to things that I wanted, but
I will say
for the deal, I can do it.
I'm seeing that more on 750,000 or more scenarios.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Your higher end clients that are finally getting into that house that they've been dreaming of. They're like, yeah, it doesn't matter, within reason, of course, doesn't matter what it costs. Like I have to have this home.
Okay. Want to get into the wacky questions?
Let's go.
Let's go with let's go fun question first.
I know the one I wanted to ask you.
Okay. Mine's gonna suck then if you already know. Okay, what's your most controversial take about Austin, Texas?
My most controversial take on Austin, Texas, this is easy, and it actually plays into real estate. Coming from Cleveland, Ohio, I am mind blown about the amount of people that apply for mortgage applications with me and with no hesitation, no shame, almost like this is a normal thing. They'll say, yeah, here's everything. Here's my documentation. Oh, and by the way, my parents are going to give me $30,000 for a down payment. Like, that is few and far between where I come from. And that is the majority here. And I'm just shocked at, like, the amount of times that it happens. And then the reason I'm shocked by it is not because the people have money. I'm shocked about the sentiment behind it, where I don't know if, like, parents have like water cooler talk and they tell each other that they're giving their kids money for down payment, but it almost seems like, okay, here's an example. Like where I come from, people would have graduation parties and parents would be like, here's a couple $100 for your graduation. Great, you graduated, right? Down here.
This is high school.
This is high school.
Yeah.
Down here, I'm sure that actually happens too. I don't know. But when you buy a home down here, your parents give you money. I don't know. So I don't know if that's controversial. I think it is because I'm kind of hating right now. And I'm sure with this being somewhat a negative connotation, it's going to get good.
You should love that.
Right? Well, I do love it. Selfishly, I love it. But I'm just like, I'm shocked at how, and again, like where I come from, if somebody's parents were giving money for a down payment, there's like a humbleness behind it. It's like almost like a shameful thing. Like, yeah, my parents are going to give me some money. It's very generous that they're doing that. But like, it's definitely not with like an attitude of like, duh, my parents are giving me money. We're down here. It's like, that's the norm. So there's mine.
Okay.
My question, because we did all the golf stuff, because now I have to know, what was it? 3 people living or, where was it? If you could have dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, who would you choose and why?
Say it again. Sorry, Zillow was calling me.
If you could have dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, who would you choose and why?
Oh man, 3 people dead or alive.
Deep, right?
Very deep. Okay, this is gonna be.
It's on the fly, so we won't judge you.
Yeah. So first one's gonna be my grandpa.
Okay.
Okay, didn't get enough time with him at a age where I understand things more.
Yep.
And he was the GOAT.
All right.
The guy played for the Chicago Bears.
Wow.
Got in a massive car accident, humbled himself, and opened a clothing store, department store in Lake Tahoe.
Wow. Okay. That's cool.
Yeah. So
Kind of want to have dinner with that guy.
let's go, Gramps. I would love to meet Arnold Palmer and just kind of talk with him.
All right. I get that.
And then number 3. This is a tough one.
Make it someone eccentric.
I'm going to.
So
God, who did I pick? Give me scenarios.
I'm thinking someone eccentric in terms of just like a Conor McGregor or like, you know, somebody who's just controversial, like Kanye.
God, do not want to meet that guy. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go with Connor.
Okay.
I think his work ethic and the way he goes about things is absolutely amazing.
Yep.
I think his style is trash. But the dude can beat the shit out of 99% of the world and is an absolute animal.
He's
So
an athlete.
I would like to meet Conor McGregor.
Yeah, what's your take on that whole USADA thing?
I don't know enough.
Okay. Well, next one.
Okay,
All right, man. I appreciate it. I got to run.
let's do it.
For those of you out there, we're going to start doing, we're going to do the 2 mats, 1 market. This is going to be one of the staples here. So you're going to see a lot of clips and a lot of the videos. So enjoy, and we always want people to follow and give us feedback. Thanks.
Thanks.